We welcome you into the Sam and Cole podcast, presented as always by Black Creek Outfitters, right there near the town center for all your outdoor plans. Basically, if you're doing anything outdoors, it's a good idea to stop into Black Creek because they have something that can help make life outdoors easier, more comfortable, more enjoyable.
Tastier
Sam is
as well, by the way.
What's that?
Tastier as well.
Oh, and tastier, right? If you, well, that's part of the enjoyable part, is it? With Big Green Egg and some barbecue accessories there. Sam is in Chicago, and we're taping this on Wednesday evening, getting ready for tomorrow's Jaguars versus Bears matchup. A game that I think will give us a little better indication of where the Jaguars truly are, because I suspect that the Bears will be one of the better teams in the NFC. Tampa Bay, I don't think, will be. Jaguars really handled Tampa Bay, particularly with the Jaguars' defense against the offense of Tampa Bay in the opener. I think this one will give us a pretty good indication of where the Jaguars really need to work on areas and what areas have really come along.
Cole, you really got to win those battles against teams like Tampa Bay to start. And you can't move on until you win those, and the Jaguars did that. So you're right. The NFC, the Bears will be a player somewhere in the playoffs when it comes to that. And it'll be interesting to see how the defense responds. Paul Posluszny did not make the trip because of a contusion in his arm. Nothing serious. He'll be full go in practice, probably play next week at Detroit. But rather than have him bang it up and be an issue all year long, they're going to give him some time to kind of make it better. So Nate Stupar will get to start at middle linebacker.
Who played well, by the way, against Tampa Bay and almost had a great game because he had a interception in his hands that it might have been a pick six if he held on to it. But I thought he played very well against Tampa.
I agree. And again, Gus tries to downplay when guys play well, and he did play against the second team, and there were a lot of base defenses, and Tampa Bay struggled a little bit on the offense in some situations. So, that's really the only difference that I can see, besides the fact that Gus told us yesterday that it would be Chad Henne for the entire first half and Blake Bortles probably for the entire second half. So they're going to give Henne a chance to get into a rhythm, and it'll be interesting to see who he plays with, whether he's playing with the first team for the whole first half or, they're going to put some players in there. Things to watch, does Brewster respond to the challenge of what the mistakes that he made last week? They're trying to, and Gus said it's a delicate balance between getting those three guys, the two guards in the center, to play as a unit, but finding out who's best where. And, you can't find that out unless you put those guys in the game together. So I think that's one of the things to look at.
And, the stuff with Brewster, I'm not as concerned about his snapping, although part of this is seeing how he handles the spotlight because he's played guard, but he hasn't played center in game situations. But it's bigger for me to see how he and whoever's at right guard, I suspect it will probably be Brandon Linder eventually, how those guys do, because that was an issue, that interior of that line was an issue from the very first offensive snap against Tampa Bay. So that's an area that absolutely has to get better in order for Henne to have a chance to do anything. And it's not just about Henne to me either, Sam. It's about the first team offense, and how does that first team really show something? If Gerhardt's in there, that will help. At wide receiver, there's again, look at the guys who they don't have, who they didn't have against Tampa from what we thought would be this way. No Justin Blackmon, no Ace Sanders, no Cecil Shorts, no Allen Robinson. So they're still a little bit substantially thin there from where they were going to be. Now, we know that Blackman's not coming back anytime soon. Ace Sanders is going to miss the first 4 games of the regular season. So if they can get Robinson back in there and see how Marquise Lee can do, and eventually if Cecil Shorts gets back in there, that will tell us a lot more about where they are with that offense. Because, while everybody wants a quarterback controversy right now, it seems like. I mean, fans left and right are talking about, hey, you got to put Bortles in, and everywhere I go in town, people asking about Bortles. Fact of the matter is, even though he showed pretty well against second teamers and he did some good things, he still doesn't even know all the plays. He's doesn't know plays yet. And so it's some of the stuff that coaches really know that you wouldn't be able to necessarily tell from looking about what happens on the field. he's still got a ways to go. But by God, that first team offense has got a ways to go because they got to get guys out there who can make plays against starting defenses in the National Football League.
Their big concern about Brewster is and think about what the Jaguars are doing with Red Bryant, is a power rush that just disrupts the middle from right in the middle of the line. And does he have the ability at center? He has it at guard. Does he have the ability at center to snap the ball and hold his ground? Because he gets overpowered too often there in that spot. And, Brad Meester, tremendously underrated for just that, just basically holding his ground there and not being pushed into the quarterback or pushed into the backfield. And that's a concern for Brewster. And
Meester also had man strength, right?
Well, he grew up on a farm. That's exactly right. I mean,
he's got old man strength. He's got farm strength.
That's exactly right. So, I mean, those are the things that they look at as to whether or not they're going to be able to run the offense they want with the offensive lineman that they have there. They've got McClendon as an option at center, but they want to see Brewster make it, and they're giving him as many opportunities as possible to kind of step up and make it happen. So we'll see there. You're 100% right about the wide receivers, though. I mean, who knows what they're going to be able to do if those guys come back, but we know what they're not going to be able to do, and that is in this game is produce the way that they should be during the regular season if Robinson and Shorts in particular are players, and how Marquise Lee responds to what Gus Bradley said. And Bradley said he made a mistake. It's the first time I've heard Gus say that since he was named the head coach. He said, I probably made a mistake in picking on the one play that I saw from the sideline where Marquise didn't run his route. The ball wasn't coming to him. And he said the two of them talked and they got it straightened out.
Marquise,
and that's all part
the word
of
was that Marquise just didn't know he was confused by the defense, didn't know where he was supposed to go, which if in the preseason, if that's what it is with a rookie, okay, learning opportunity.
My favorite thing about that whole exchange was, even if you don't know what you're doing, do it at 100 miles an hour.
Yeah. Fast mistakes are better than slow mistakes.
That's right. So that'll be interesting, and that's the maturization process of a rookie to get to that point. Defensively, I think we saw that this is going to be an upgraded unit, that they're going to be able to get some pressure. And I spent some time with Derek Marks because he was the guest on All Access on Monday night, and we spent some time together before, during, and after the show. And I was joking with him that Red Bryant takes up 1.5 or 2 guys, and the guy in front of you is going to try to block you. All he did was laugh. He goes, yeah, that's not happening. Mm-hmm. He said, there's a play. We looked at a play where Red Bryant was hit by 3 guys, and he never felt any of them. He said, and when that happens, he said, that opens up so many other opportunities. He said, there's nobody in the league that can hold me that can keep me out of the backfield one-on-one. So if that's what they're going to be trying to do,
may or may not be true, but I like the confidence.
But that's what players need to think, right?
Yeah.
That's how they need to think. There's nobody there that can keep me from getting in the backfield. And if it is a one-on-one situation, and you've got a veteran like Clemens, and you've got a guy who has been very productive like Marks, and you've got Branch who is developing, and you've got Telvin Smith coming after the quarterback, and Puzzlesny and whomever else. These are battles that they can win. Before, Marks saw 2 players on every snap and really didn't have a chance.
No, I think it's very obvious that this defense is leaps and bounds better than it was at this point last year, and much better than it was at its best point last year, which was probably the Denver game when they didn't get blown out, and that was kind of the moral victory. And not surprising, if you go back through teams that have really struggled and they bring in a new coach, almost in every case, if you bring in a defensive coach, the defense is way ahead of the offense because there's a comfort level there with what the head coach knows and where he's going. If you bring an offensive coach in, it's kind of a 50-50 thing, and it usually has to do with whether you get the quarterback or not. So we'll see how that quarterback thing develops as far as Bortles is concerned. But winning preseason games doesn't matter to me. I want to see what the ones do against the ones against Chicago, and if it can be competitive and close with all the injuries and the guys who aren't playing for the Jaguars, I think that's a win as far as I'm concerned for the Jaguars.
I think your assessment of what happens when a new coach comes in is spot on, because defense is about effort. It's not about scheme. It's about effort and beating the guy in front of you. Whereas on offense, there's a lot of nuance and scheme and things that have to kind of work and mesh and all that other stuff. Where, you bring in some guys who can play on defense, you got a good defense. It doesn't really matter. So, you bring Richard Sherman in, your defensive backfield's better.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether he understands the scheme or not. He's going to be able to cover the guy in front of him.
Yeah, you got to have the horses to win on defense. You can, with a possible exception of coming up with whatever the next zone blitz is, and maybe the auto is that thing where you trick the other guy. You can only trick the other guy so often with an NFL defense.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, the horses. Yeah, it's like a hitter will catch up to a fastball eventually. You got to be able to pitch to him. All right, so that's the Jaguars Thursday night ESPN broadcast. So you get a week off from your preseason TV play-by-play duties,
which I really don't want, by the way.
You'd just as soon do the play-by-play.
Well, and as you know, having done it so often, you do it, and all you think about is all the negative things that you could have done that you didn't do, and you want to go back and do it right away. And in this case, we got to wait 2 weeks. And in fact, the Detroit game, I'll be paired with Tony Vaselli, so it'll be another new experience. And then back with Mark against Atlanta. But and by the way, for all of you who were very complimentary of my effort, thank you, and all you haters and trolls, the delete function and the block function works perfectly.
So does a remote control.
Right.
So I want to talk a little bit about golf, and as right as I was about what the quarterback situation was going to bring forth, I was as wrong as I could be about Rory McIlroy. You asked me, it was last week, if I thought that Rory was going to win the PGA. I said no. I thought there was just too much competition out there. But boy, what a summer Rory McIlroy has had.
You mean breaking up with Wozniacki?
Apparently, that's listen. If this is just the thing for Ricky Fowler, who has been close but hasn't been able to get through Sergio.
There's going to be a bunch of single guys out there.
Well, start dating a tennis player. Right. Yeah, start dating a tennis player now, and then get serious. Break it off, early
after the wedding invitations are
just
out.
In time. Right, just in time for the Masters.
Right. McIlroy is much like Tiger was, and we talked about Tiger in the late '90s, and of course he had that incredible run in 1999 and 2000. Roy's a bit of an outlier and a little bit of a game changer. I mean, at 5'9", he hits the ball 345 yards consistently, which no doubt they'll sell 1 million of those covert drivers now. But his swing is so balanced, so athletic, doesn't look violent like Tiger's, doesn't look like it puts a lot of pressure on different parts of his body, and he's a very underrated putter. And he's developed enough mental toughness, even though he's only 25 years old, to be able to come from 3 back with 9 holes to play and to try to hit those shots to win the tournament and have the skill to pull them off. So, other guys would love to play like that. They just don't have that level that he has that was similar to what Tiger had to that group of players that played in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, he's got 4 majors. He's got 4 majors now. He joins. This is amazing. In the last century, the only players to have 4 majors before the age of 26: Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, Bobby Jones. Those other 3.
How about that?
Those other 3 might be the 3 best players in the history of the game.
Right.
If you started polling people top 10, those 3 guys are on all the top 10s. And they might be in any order, Jack, Tiger, Bobby Jones, might be the 3 that you would get. One thing with Rory, you talk about his swing, one thing that I noticed from an early age with him was the flexibility that he had, the natural flexibility and the ability to get way back and get way forward to generate that kind of clubhead speed. I'm not going to harp on this too much, but because we talked about it last time, he's got to make sure that as he develops physically and he gets stronger and he looks like a strong safety right now. that if he gets bigger, that he doesn't lose flexibility, because it's not just raw muscle, as you know, with the golf swing. It's also about the ability to get through and do it and repeat it over and over again. So I think it's great for golf to have that guy that everybody can watch, because Tiger doesn't look like he's anytime soon going to be back to where he needs to be. Phil is almost, even though he was competitive again, he's almost to the age that Jack Nicklaus was when he won his last major. So keep that in mind. Golf needs that guy to be the standard bearer, and Rory is certainly that right now. And I don't think he's likely to get to where Tiger was in terms of a draw, because you have the white guy from Northern Ireland doesn't have the same street cred as Tiger did. But I think it's great for the game.
McIlroy, if you look at, when they would show highlights of his win at the PGA at Kiowa, you could see he looked like a little bit different guy. He was 23 then, he's 25 now. Even the commercial for the Omega that he now advertises for, he looked like a different guy standing there. I think that's Dubai. He's standing in front of, and he hits that ball, and he holds the ball up that says Omega on it. He looks up like a bigger guy, and you're right. Hopefully the people around him say, look, you're the right size right now. And this is where, Tiger was that skinny, reedy kid in the early 90s, went to look like the middleweight champion of the world, and now when you see him, he looks like the light heavyweight champion of the world, and I think that may have caused him some of the physical problems along with the violent nature of his swing. But,
and that's why I say I just am not going to hit the weights that hard. I just don't want to affect my golf.
That's right. A good reason. Remember, McIlroy has been in some different situations. He's had the lead. He had the lead at the Open Championship a few years ago, if you remember, and then he shot 80 in the next round on that terrible weather day. Yep. He had the lead at the Masters and hit it up there left of the Eisenhower cabin, which I've never seen anybody up there. So he's had these experiences in his head already at 25 of both winning and losing. So those are the things that you have to go through, and if you're going to become a great player, if you have that kind of talent. He already has it. I just think the sky's the limit for the guy, and almost, not quite, but you get the feeling almost that he scares some guys off the leaderboard.
I think you're right, and if you can imagine this, a guy wins the Players' Championship and the U.S. Open, and he's not the Player of the Year. Martin Keimer did that, and there's no doubt who the Player of the Year is, right?
And remember, the Bridgestone, the WGC event, Sergio had a 3-shot lead going into the final round, and it was almost a foregone conclusion that Rory was going to win the golf tournament.
Which tells you where people's expectations are based on what he's done, and what he's done really in about the last. You can look back on him winning a Kiowa, but really it's what he's done in the last year and a half.
Exactly.
That made such a difference.
Exactly. All right. Great stuff, Cole. We'll check in with everybody after the Chicago game, probably Friday of this week. I think probably would be the next opportunity that we had, because from what I understand, there's a lot of late nights in my very near future. So we'll see how that goes. But Friday we'll probably have the chance to update you on what happened against Chicago, and obviously whatever else is going on in the world of sports, or actually whatever else interests us. It doesn't always have to be in the world of sports. The Sam and Cole podcast is brought to you by Black Creek Outfitters. You can find just about everything you need there, and certainly the Butler family is about the most helpful when you go in there. I picked up these pair of shoes, I think I told you, these Solomon XA Pros that are just, it's what all the special forces are wearing, but they're really a hiking shoe, but it's what the SEAL teams and the Rangers are all wearing, and it's just an amazing shoe. If you're looking for anything like that, just walk to the back of the store and try a couple of those on, because it's like nothing you've ever worn, the way that it envelops your foot. Stop in and see them at Black Creek Outfitters. You can follow Cole on Twitter at Cole Pepper, and you can follow me at Sam Kavaris. You can probably see also that at Sam Sportsline and at Sports4Jacks also are regularly active Jacksonville sports accounts. Till the next time, Sam and Cole podcast brought to you by Black Creek Outfitters. We'll see you on Friday.